former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, Bill Taylor, is here with me now. And joining us remotely is retired U.S. Army four-star general and former NATO Supreme Allied Commander in Europe, Wesley Clark. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us. General Clark, I want to start with you with this. How does it work when you're dealing with an adversary, somebody we're fighting a proxy war, essentially with in Ukraine? How do you, what kind of coordination? Pull the curtain back for us a little bit about how U.S. can try to share intelligence and how this works.
Well, we are passing intelligence to Ukraine. The president said we're not passing specific real-time targeting information to Ukraine. The officers are talking to, in Ukraine, they're talking to the officers in the United States forces in Europe. They're getting some coaching, they're getting some war gaming, they're getting some instructions on equipment that's been provided. But essentially, the operations are Ukraine's and Ukraine's alone.
And you had to deal with related problems during the Kosovo War, right? Where you have multinational forces, you have dangers of nuclear powers that are arrayed on both sides, and all of that stuff. Talk about so the United States and Russia share a common enemy as it relates to ISIS. How effectively can the United States and Russia cooperate from a military standpoint or from a security standpoint, given that truth?
Well, the United States has for a long time cooperated by sharing information on terrorist activities with Russian intelligence agencies. We're not getting the same degree of cooperation coming back the other way. And frankly, Vladimir Putin is very focused on Ukraine. But these ISIS elements that are in Afghanistan, Dagestan, and Gushetia, they are still a threat globally. The United States still has to be concerned about ISIS terrorism, and so it's in our interest to give this information to Russia. On the other hand, Russia is focused on Ukraine. Vladimir Putin would like to mobilize the Russian people to see Ukraine as the principal enemy backed by the United States, and doesn't want to speak of other forces coming in against Russia. So I'm sure this is a real dilemma for Mr. Putin.
Okay, Ambassador. Senator Capito alluded to it, and it's an obvious fear, which is that the weaker Putin's position becomes in Moscow, the weaker, because obviously this is a terrible blow to his reputation. He just won re-election. That as his political position, domestic position in Russia becomes more vulnerable, the obvious choice is to further escalate and act out more against Ukraine. How do you see it?
I think General Clark's exactly right, Chris. That is, and you're right to say that Putin is weaker because he's demonstrated that he's weaker. He can't protect his people. As General Clark said, we provided him with information about what might happen. He mocked it. Mm-hmm. He ridiculed it. And he's paying the price for it. And exactly right, he's trying to whip up support for an unpopular war by saying, actually, it was the Ukrainians that were responsible. It's not fighting. And the senator's exactly right. That dog don't hunt. It's not getting purchase. So he's having a very difficult time trying to prove to his people, the Russians, that he can protect them, and he can't.
So through diplomatic channels, public channels, every way that they can, the Biden administration, and you've served Republicans, you've served Democrats, you know the domestic side of this problem. In every way that they can, U.S. leaders, including some Republicans in Congress, are trying to send the message to Ukraine. We're coming. We're coming. We promise. We're going to get there somehow. Maybe not today, but maybe next month. How does that fall on Ukrainian ears?
So, Chris, I was there a week ago. I got back a week ago. The Ukrainians count on us. They appreciate all we've done. They're worried. They're worried. And so they look very carefully at what's going on in our Congress. They see the strong support in the Senate, 70-29 vote for a Ukraine package. They see what's going on in the House. They follow it very closely. And they see that there is some chance, maybe having to do with a loan. Lindsey Graham was just in Ukraine, who has been on and off. He's now supporting this. Mm-hmm. And he says there's a possibility there could be a loan. No interest, waivable loan. That's a possibility that will get this through.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.